Okay, part 3 of the states with the GDP per capita above the country average and states below. A bunch of these states have been taken over. The blue team, which is the richer side, controls much of the west, while the poorer states control much of the east. New York is under siege, and it is proven to be unconquerable as the people of Manhattan are fighting to defend their island. By the way, only Manhattan remains. The Bronx. Actually, no. So what first happens is forces from New Jersey first break through and they push into northern New Jersey, taking like Newark and that area. Then forces push into the Bronx and the southern or the northern New York area. A landing is made on Long Island, and they push. Brooklyn and Queens both fall. Staten Island falls, leaving only Manhattan. It's a tiny island with 1 million people, but 1 million troops, which are all the troops in the east, are now stranded there. So they defend the tiny island, and the Fourth Amendment, the Quartering Act, is being ignored as there needs to be housing for the soldiers, and it's just really bad. Their goal is to try to starve Manhattan. However, the richer side has more money, so they have better planes, so they can actually fly a bunch of supplies in. So Manhattan's under siege. It's not good, but it's still really bad because the red team, despite having double the forces, is unable to land on the island and take it over. So a bunch of their forces are stuck here. While in the west, the blue team has started making more advances. They pushed into Arkansas, and they cut the state off from the Mississippi, as well as took the rest of the state, taking Little Rock. States ended. Up here, South Dakota, which used to be a puppet state of the blue team, now is being taken over. Troops from North Dakota and Iowa start pushing in. They cut the state off and then take it back to the blue team. And the Republic of South Dakota and Montana has reformed. This time, instead of being a puppet state, what am I doing? This time, instead of being a puppet state, it's more just its own state, I guess. Like, it's leaning towards the blue team, but it's still very what's it called? It's still very much a independent nation. So now forces from the blue team start pushing into Minnesota. This is threatening the heartland of the Rust Belt. So they push into Minnesota, up in the north. Meanwhile, the orange team pushes down south. However, that's about as far as they make it. The rest of the advances are done by blue team forces. Actually, orange forces kind of push like out here, but that's about as far as they get before blue team troops eventually take Minnesota. State surrenders and is partitioned like this. Then a invasion into southern Louisiana is sent. They invade Baton Rouge, take it, and New Orleans is cut off, and eventually the city falls, marking the Mississippi now being unusable for this team. Meanwhile, in New York, a major invasion has been attempted. However, it's 2 million to 1 million troops in New York. So, I'll just write that 1 to 2 million. But now it's actually down to 7,500K to 1.5 mil. So poor side lost twice as many troops, but it's still the same ratio. Meanwhile, in Missouri, forces from all sides push into the state, and basically the whole state is taken. St. Louis is put under siege, and it stays there for a while. However, the people and the troops, they're able to evacuate. It's not a full siege, so it's not really under siege, just, yeah. But while the troops are evacuating, the bridges are blown up by the blue team's air force, who now have air superiority all over the Mississippi River. So they blow up all the bridges, and now the troops there, being trapped, they decide to just fight to the end. So blowing up the bridges proves to be a mistake, as there's really only 10,000 troops there, but because they'll 30,000, but because they fight to the end, it's hard to kill. However, they eventually do it after suffering double the casualties. In New York, a new offensive happens. This time, what am I doing? Ignore these numbers. This time, the offensive has taken a total of, this time, New York, what's it called? Okay, this time Manhattan now only has 100,000 troops compared to the 1 million. And eventually the city does fall. You know what? I don't even care at this point. The city falls. I'll just give it to the red team. City falls. This is huge because now they have a spare 1 million troops. However, they have started pushing into the red team heartland by now, and Manhattan. But yeah, Manhattan's fallen, which is bad. Both for morale and for an actual thing for the red team. And now we basically have a full-blown West-East civil war. At first, most sides are trapped on either side of the Mississippi. However, down here, this is actually across the Mississippi in Louisiana. What they hope to do is push up to Mississippi and establish a good area along the Mississippi before these troops that were just attacking Manhattan can make it down to defend Mississippi. So they start a push from down south, and they take much of Mississippi. A landing is actually made here after this area is surrounded, and Mississippi falls. It is big because that's a whole state along the Mississippi. Then they try to go for Tennessee. They start pushing up here. Many troops have been sent here. They do manage to cut off Nashville, which they take. However, and a bunch of troops are forced to surrender because they couldn't escape in time. However, the red team, while that was happening, a bunch of troops were sent here. A counteroffensive is made into Minneapolis, and it takes the city. Now they share a border with the orange team, who once again gets invaded. There once again aren't blue team forces stationed there, but they're able to push the orange team back to their original borders, as well as establish a huge, a bunch of land up here. However, this proves to be a mistake, as the city of Minneapolis is eventually put under siege by the blue team, and the city falls very quickly, trapping all these forces. A bunch of forces were trapped, and once again the state is retaken. However, this time the orange team does not get any territory in it. Now it's only part of the blue team. In Illinois, they're kind of sick of being part of the poorer country, so revolts start to pop up, mainly in the Chicago area. So Chicago, as a bit of a compromise, the whole area is made part of the has made its own independent state, but it's still a puppet state of the red team. However, but the people don't necessarily like that. However, it's the best they have, so now Chicago's independent. But now the liberation of Illinois has started across the Mississippi. Landings have been made all the way over here. They take a bunch up north. St. Louis area is taken up here. And while this is happening, Chicago actually, the Republic of Chicago actually turns on the red team and pushes into Illinois themselves, and then the state falls and is kind of partitioned like this. The green team tries to, and then the invasion of Wisconsin starts. The blue team takes much of this area. This one's gonna be quick. The blue team takes much of this area. However, the green team takes the coast. And now the Republic of Chicago is a very, very large place. To end this video, the invasion of Michigan's Upper Peninsula goes well. The green team ends up taking all of it, however. And now this once red-leaning team is now a blue-leaning team, and they don't want to make the same mistake they made with the orange team by not putting troops, so a bunch of blue team's troops are stationed here just in case of an invasion. And that's what I'm going to